Well, welcome to a weird Wednesday Monday. Today we are actually going to focus not just on division, but we're going to read questions and say, hey, what's the difference between multiplication and division? So as always, your challenge questions, please make sure that you're at least getting two of these boxes right. I mean, technically 2 out of 3 is a 67%, which is a D, which is not great. So in all reality, you should be really aiming at getting all three of these correct because they're all review. And then more importantly, if you're not getting them correct, really try to figure out what it is that you're confused about and how you get these correct answers. If you are doing that, my goodness, you are going to do such a wonderful job in math this year. And then the challenge question, you have to figure out, are you going to multiply or divide? And what's the answer? So, to multiply or to divide? That is the question. Remember, when you are dividing, the inside number is called your dividend. And if the decimal is only in here, it's fine. It's very easy. You just float it up and everything's just fine and dandy. If your decimal's in the divisor, not so fine. You got to kick it over. And if you kick it over there, you kick it over here. This guy is a frog. That is the animal that we are going to rock today. And so in your math document, frog, ribbit, ribbit, frog. All right. So today, if you look in your book, lesson 10 is huge. It's very large. There's a lot going on. Um, so therefore, I'm going to break it in half. We're going to do 1 through 17 today. And then tomorrow, we are going to rock 17 through 34. So let's get started. A turtle walks 2/10 miles in 1 hour. How far will it take him to walk a half of an hour? So do we need to multiply or divide to solve? If you said multiply, you are correct. So that first answer is multiply. Let me just go ahead and do everything here. So number one, multiply is A. And then B, it says, will the answer be more or less than 2/10 of a mile? Well, here's our turtle friend. Um, he's a very happy little turtle friend. And his shell's beautiful. Looks like a ladybug, maybe. Anyways, when he walks, he can go 2/10 of a mile. Wow. And it only takes him 1 hour. It's fantastic. So the question is, how far can he walk in a half of an hour? So every 2 miles he goes an hour. How far did he go in half of an hour? So we want to figure out what half of 2/10 is, right? And to be clear, will it go further or less than 0.2 miles? Well, if he's only going half of an hour, it's going to go half of 2/10. So therefore, that answer is less. And then C, what is the answer? Well, here we go. Remember, 5/10 of 2/10 is multiplication of, when you're taking a fraction of something, it's multiplication. So therefore, get rid of the decimal, right? You kick it over 2 spots, and then just 5 times 2 is 10. Now you bring it back. So your answer is how far did he go? Well, 1/10 of a mile. So that's number one right there. And we're going to do all the odds together right now. And then on our live session, we'll rock some of these evens. Gus ran 3.6. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're not doing number two. We're doing number three. We're skipping two. Last year, 135 cows on Dixie Dairy Farm had calves, which are baby cows. This time, 6/10 times that many cows had calves. So how many cows had calves? Well, 6/10 times 135. Is that multiplication or division? Yeah, once again, it's multiplication. And then the next question says, will the answer be bigger or smaller than 135? Well, 6/10 is smaller than 1 time, right? It's smaller than 1 time, which therefore it's going to be less. So what's your answer? Well, how do we find this answer? We're going to take 135 and we're going to multiply it by 0.6. Do we have to include the 0? No, we don't, but we will. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 1 is 6. 0 falls down. 8, 9, 10, 11. 6, 7, 8. So that's a 0. And then 0, 0. So 8, 1, 0. Bring back the decimal 1 spot. So how many cows do they have? 81. And it makes sense that it's a whole number because how can you have a fraction of a cow, right? So 6/10 of 135 is 81. And 81 cows or calves is your answer, calves. So that's number 3. Skip forward. Try number 5. A rectangular patio has an area of 131. So we know the area is 131 and 52 hundredths, and we know one of the sides is 9.6. But we do not know the other side. Wah, wah, wah. So, do we need to multiply or divide to find the question mark? Remember, what I always do here is I say, okay, let's think of an easy one. 2 by 3 is 6. In our problem up here, we don't have the top number. We don't have U. So how do we go from 6 to 2 to 3? You divide. You take the area and divide by the outside. So how do we find the area, the answer to the question mark? Well, the answer to 5A divide. 5B says, will the answer be bigger or smaller than 131.52? What do you think? If you find area by multiplying the two opposite sides, is this going to be bigger or smaller than this? Smaller, for sure. And then your answer is what? Well, the way we figure it out is we divide. So we have 131. Am I allowed to have 9.6? No. So I have to move this over 1, move this over 1. The decimal is going to be right here. 96, the first thing it goes into is 131. How many times 1? What's left over? So 11 minus 6 is 5. And then 2 minus 6 or 9 is illegal. So now we do 12 instead, which is 3. So 35 is left over. The decimal's not really here. I probably should have rewritten it, but that's okay. And then how many 96s are in? My guess is 3, but possibly 4. Let's try 3 first. So somewhere on my paper, I'm going to figure out what 96 times 3 is. That's 18, 27, 28. 288. Do I have enough for another 96? Well, let's see. If I take out 4, it's going to be 96 more. 8 plus 6 is 14. 8 plus 9 plus 1 is 18. 384. Do I have enough room? No. So how many did I take out? 3. And what did I say 3 was? I said 288. What's left over? Well, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. So we have to borrow from the 3. Now you have 15. Borrow from the 15. So 15 minus 8 is 7. 14 minus 8 is 6. And then 2 minus 2 is nothing. So 67 is left. Bring down the final number here. How many? Well, let's see. 96 times 4 is 384. If I double that, it's going to be too big. So I'm going to guess 7 instead. So somewhere I got to figure out what 96 times 7 is. I'll do it in this corner. 6 times 7 is 42. Shut your mouth and tie my shoe. 9 times 7 is 63. 2 falls down, 7 falls down, 6 falls down. Perfect. So how many did I take out? 7. So what's my answer? 13.7. And then what is it? Well, they are meters. So those are my answers for 5. Okay, we're skipping 6. We're only rocking the odds. So let's go to 7. And it's just saying, hey, let's compare all these different things. So if A is a whole number and D is not a whole number, it's smaller than 1, it's just a little tiny decimal, will D, so is decimal times a whole number. So what I like to do on these is come up with like an example so I understand my answer. So D, so any decimal, we love 0.5. 0.5, and you could do any decimal, times a whole number, let's go 3. Will the answer, I'm assuming the answer, be more or less than A? More or less than 3. So is it bigger or smaller than 3? So is the answer bigger or smaller than 3? Let me make sure that this makes sense. If A is the whole number, so there's your whole number, and D is a decimal, there's our decimal, will D times A, decimal times whole number, will that answer be bigger or smaller than 3? And so the answer is going to be smaller, right? Because it's actually 0.15. Why? Because you're taking a fraction of the whole number, right? You're taking a fraction or a part of the whole number. So the answer is smaller. Gross. Why? Because you're taking a fraction or a part, I should have put part, fraction of the number. Makes sense, right? You're taking, in our example, you're taking 5/10, which is half of 3. Of course it's going to be smaller. And that's always true. Whenever you take a decimal or a fraction of something, well, your answer is small. Let's go to 9. if you have a whole number, right? If A is the whole number, and you have a decimal smaller than 1, well, your whole number, let's just keep using the same ones, divided by a fraction, will that be bigger or smaller than 3? Well, we can figure out the answer, right? 3 divided by 0.5. You're not allowed to have a decimal, so it's really 30 divided by 5. Your answer is 6. Is it bigger or smaller? It's bigger. Now we got to make sense of it. Why is it greater than? Well, when you have an amount that's a whole number and you're dividing it by a decimal, you're saying, hey, I have 3 loaves of bread. How many half loaves are in 3 loaves? 6. So to make a group, you just need smaller than 1 to make a group. So you're going to get more, right? So in order to make a group, you just need a fraction of a whole to make a group. So no matter what, you're going to have more groups than you started out with. Does that make sense? I hope so. Bigger. Why? And then put a smiley face, because you don't need to write all that. Bigger. Smiley face. Why? Well, because it takes less than 1 to make a group. This is ideally what you're supposed to write here. But I can't do that with the mouse. So if I can't do it with a mouse, I'm not going to make you do it without a mouse. Bigger. Why? Because it takes less than 1 to make a group. So you're going to have more groups than you started out with. All right, now we'll rock this and we'll be done for the day until our live portion. Now, how are you right now? Are you sitting down like this? Come on, Mr. Stahl. Are you not even watching? Well, not you, because you're watching it. Or are you like this? Trying to make sense of these things that we're talking about. If that last one's the truth, man, you're growing some strength and understanding with math, and I'm proud of you. Good job. All right. Here, we're going to just do the odds, right? Right now, we're doing the odds. We're going to do the evens later if we have time. So that means we're just doing these over here. So you have a fraction, because remember, decimals are fractions, multiplied by a whole number. So this answer is going to get smaller. You have a whole number divided by a decimal, meaning, remember, the second number you say is what it takes to be a group. So it just takes a tiny amount to be a group. This answer is going to get bigger for sure, because each one is worth more than one group, right? Because this is a decimal. So anyways, this is bigger than that. So this answer over here is going to for sure get bigger, right? And if you want to pause and try to come up with these 3 answers right now and then just check it with the video, good for you. And then we have this is getting multiplied by a number smaller than 1, so that's going to get smaller. So which side? And then this one, you're taking a fraction of a whole number, so this side is going to get smaller. And then this one is going to get bigger because it's, you know, whole number multiplied by a whole number. So that side's bigger. And then this one's going to get smaller because it's your normal division. You're going to take 5,602, and every 42 is one group. How many groups are you going to have? Wow. That answer is going to get smaller. And then this one, you're taking a whole number, and you're like, to make a group, we don't even need 1. We don't even need half. It's going to be less than half to make a group. So there, you're going to get a whole bunch of groups over here. So therefore, bada bing, bada boom. All right. You will have a homework doc to fill out today to make sure that you watched and understood this video, this lesson. And then, you know, we will rock the rest of this stuff in our live session at 10:30. See you there.